Welcome to my review of the 2023 LEGO Marvel Avengers Tower, given set number 76269, nice, with 5,201 pieces, also nice, and it costs $500. Maybe not so nice. Jokes aside, we'll find out if it's actually worth that $500 price tag in this review, as it is the biggest and most expensive LEGO Marvel set ever. This thing is a marvel. I gotta stop. This set includes a downright insane 29 minifigures, plus Hulk Big Fig, plus Ant-Man Micro Fig. It's just absurd to see that many minifigures on top of a LEGO set box. When you open that top flap, you're greeted with some beautiful artwork of some of those minifigures within the set, and the rest of the unboxing experience is pretty standard with bags and then more bags inside of a box. It comes with a 32 by 32 base plate just loose in there, and it has two massive sticker sheets. And while I know there are heaps of people out there that detest stickers being included in $500 sets, I honestly don't mind it all that much, but I definitely understand where you're coming from if you do. Lastly, for the packaging, you have 3 separate instruction manuals, and they do something pretty cool on the back of each of these. Inside, you'll find some fun information about the set and its design process. You're more than welcome to pause and read any of these as you like. And then what I found particularly cool is that there's little snippets built in throughout the instruction manual that either tell you about a little Easter egg that might be seen within the build of the set, or just make a funny Legoized version of a joke, like saying, as far as we're concerned, that's America's tube side. This set features 31 total different characters, and it's crazy to just see that many figures from one set all at once on the table, but we'll circle back to that. Starting with 16 of them, none of these are exclusive to this set. All of these are available in other sets, and technically in the case of Pepper Potts and Thor, they are unique variants because they use different hair pieces than the previous versions from other sets. However, those hair pieces are also available in other sets. By the way, Thor's lightning, very cool coming out of the hammer there, and it's such a large piece attached onto him that they actually had to include a clear base for him to stand on, so I thought that was pretty neat. But anyway, with the 16 characters that are reuses here, we generally have pretty good minifigures. I mean, there are certain examples like Wong and Wanda who either shouldn't be in the set or should be in different outfits in the set. The other 15 figures as of release are exclusive to the set, and these actually split into 2 separate subcategories, the first of which is exclusive minifigure but not exclusive character. So all of these are just separate variations of characters that we have had before. The Hulk is the new mold with a new hairpiece. It looks very good. I'm a huge fan of this Hulk. I think it's a very nice update to see. We have a couple SHIELD agents in new outfits, plus Tony Stark using one of them as a disguise. My favorite figure in the entire set is this version of Vision, who has transparent blue legs and a plastic cape on his back to accommodate the translucent bottom part and have a beautiful printed design. It just looks gorgeous, quite frankly, with this figure. Love the color on it. Now, we also have a new variant of the Wasp, and her little wings really remind me of Geonosians from Star Wars, but yeah, very good looking character here. We also have new variants of Ultron and Iron Man Mark 6. These figures are incredibly dense with detail, and looking at the back of them, it even continues. I love the back print for Ultron. It's just incredible how much detail they packed onto him. So I think these figures in particular are looking very nice to me. Next, we have Hawkeye, Falcon, and Black Widow. Interestingly enough, they all 3 share the exact same leg print, and Black Widow is actually the same figure that came out in a Quinjet set, except she didn't have leg printing in that set. So the leg printing in this set makes her unique for this set. And finally, we have 4 entirely exclusive characters to this set, never before made, making their first appearance here in the $500 Avengers Tower, with Dr. Cho, Eric Selvig, Alexander Pierce, and Kevin Feige. Of the 4, though, I think the Kevin Feige is the most exciting, and overall, on the exclusive side of things from this set, it's just crazy to see so many exclusive minifigs. As a collector, I love this sort of thing because it gives you something to chase after, something to desire to add to your collection, and I do like it from that perspective, although it's absolutely understandable if you don't want to pay $500 to get exclusive variants of minifigures. However, I just see it as a good value proposition from a review perspective of, should you buy this set for X, Y, and Z reasons? One of those reasons is the minifigures, and the answer is yes. The minifigures are a reason to buy this set for $500. There are so many cool ones in this set, so many well-executed figures. They are not without their problems across the board. There are definitely some flaws out there, and especially some hardcore Marvel fans will know it when they see it within this set. But overall, across the board, especially with 15 exclusive characters, I think that's more than enough to entice some people to want to buy this set that maybe didn't want to buy this set anyway, or people that were going to buy the set anyway will now be much happier with their purchase. And so I think that's a win-win for Lego. You're creating happy customers that feel like they're getting good value for their money, and you're also enticing more people to buy your product and spend more money on your product because you're a business, and that's how these sorts of things work, for better or for worse. Anyway, that's the minifig selection. Hopefully I've shown you in enough detail to be able to come to your own decision as to whether or not you like it, but overall, I certainly like it. I want to start my deep dive into the Avengers Tower by letting everyone take in this amazing view of it. The perspective just gives you a really great sense of the immense scale. This thing is 3 feet tall. We'll come back to some of the finer details on the building later, but I want to start at the sidewalk where we have a trash can. Within that trash can, bubble gum. While I was building the set, there was a pink stud that went underneath the park bench. At the time, I had no idea what it was for, but sure enough, much later on in the build, you place a trash can next to the bench. Just beyond the opposite bench is the Battle of New York Memorial, which is a reference from the Hawkeye TV show. Turning the build 90 degrees to the side, you'll find Technic pins, and these actually allow you to connect the Avengers Tower to other modular, either Lego Marvel sets or big Lego modular sets. And that's something that a lot of fans will really appreciate, and that's something that some fans like myself won't take advantage of at all. And it's just nice that the option is there either way. Continuing on to the back of the Avengers Tower, you'll find a dumpster, a box, a very nice sticker detail on the door, and a small stickered tile on the ground. Accessing the interior for this build is not what I initially expected. During the build process, I thought you might be able to pull sections off from the top and make your way into the build as you please, but it turns out that's not it at all. The entire structure from top to bottom stays together, except for this large panel that sits loosely leaned up against the load-bearing structure of the tower, and you're able to easily pull it away and gain access to 4 sections inside of the tower. Starting on the ground level, you'll notice the ceiling is very tall, so you'll be able to reach your hand in with ease. I like that there's a couple of seats down there for some minifigs to sit inside. There's also a very cool looking vending machine that I really love the design of, and then just sitting in the middle of the floor is the Tesseract, which is just a Minecraft head, but blue, but it's still like a pretty cool piece to have. Anyway, beyond that, they have the reception desk, and I really love the clear top that they were able to give to that desk. And finally, we actually have an elevator, and there's an elevator system throughout this entire build. Now, unfortunately, there's not an actual running, working elevator that you can raise and lower to each level, but the elevator doors and the idea of there being an elevator is represented, and I feel like that's more than enough for a set of this scale. Moving up to the second room, we have what I think might be my favorite part of this entire build. You have the glass bridge that Captain America and Captain America fight on. It's not quite as high off the ground as it is in the movie, but it gets the point across, and it's a pretty good looking bridge. But just below that, you have some broken shards of glass because, of course, they break through and fall off the bridge. And more interestingly, you have a little black piece there that you actually can place minifigure legs around, and it's supposed to hold the minifigure there, and that's so that you can recreate this scene.
That is America's ass.
Lego refers to that as America's tube side, and I just think that's a wonderful play on the whole scene, and they did a great job representing it in this Lego set and putting it in a spot where it's really easy to see near the front of the room. Behind that is what I think is a representation of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner's offices from Age of Ultron. It's got quite a lot going on with a lot of the smaller details represented using stickers. Big surprise. On the third floor, we have Tony's office. You'll see Dummy holding a fire extinguisher. Inside a couple of the drawers, there's some money and a cookie. His arc reactor is up on a shelf in a wall. We've got the Pepper Potts armor shown on the little blue hologram thing. And then my favorite part of the room is the blueprints in the back corner for Ultron. Now, the fourth floor I found out might be a pretty questionable inclusion within the Avengers Tower because apparently this is Loki's prison cell, but it's supposed to be the prison cell that was found on the helicarrier. And the Avengers Tower isn't the helicarrier. So I think it's a very interesting thing to choose to represent within your ultimate Avengers Tower. Nonetheless, it's a pretty good prison cell. It's got plenty of space to hold Loki. There's the computer off to the side with Zemo from Winter Soldier. Then on the ground, there's a newspaper that says, "Who is the Iron Man?" And then definitely the best part of this room are the decorated elevator doors that say "No Hulk," "Warning out of order," and "Do not enter." It's unfortunate that it is where it is because it's mostly hidden by Loki's prison cell, and I had to tear it out to get good footage for you. On the fifth floor, we have the Quinjet landing pad, which we'll test the functionality of later when we look at the Quinjet, but looks-wise, it looks pretty dang good and leads into the lounge. And in that lounge, we have Thor's hammer, there's some milk, there's some TVs on, and I just love some of the small builds in here, like the potted plant, the lamp, and the couch. Everything is just lovely in this little lounge. Now, getting into the rooftop section, accessing this area becomes a little bit tricky as you have to pull off this entire curved section of the roof, but nonetheless, once you're inside, you'll find some fun details, like Loki having been been smashed by Hulk into the ground. It's just a sticker, but it's a cool sticker nonetheless, among other details on that 6th level. And then above that, if you just pull this little wall away, you'll find Loki's scepter among some other little office details. And then finally, at the very tippy top of the build, you've got a lot of your communications antennas, and the blue plate there is supposed to be the Tesseract beacon used to open the space portal. Turning our attention to the exterior, the build, of course, is gorgeous. That blue and gray color scheme just really pops. You've got the A on both sides of the tower, and on one side of the tower, you actually have a little bird next to it, which I think is pretty dang cute. If there's one thing not to love looks-wise, it's the little Technic openings that are just littered throughout the build so that you can attach minifigures onto the side of the build. Like, it's great for when you want to have characters flying around, and you can do so many cool things with it, like having Wong enter through the portal or having the Iron Man armor chase Tony Stark down the face of the Avengers Tower. Like, I think there's definitely a big plus side to some of these gaping holes that we see on the side of the build. There's also a couple more noticeable windows broken out from the side of the Avengers Tower. Now, they do include the proper amount of windows, so theoretically you could just patch this up and be good to go with the parts included in the set. So I do like that. However, I also like the feature of being able to have Hulk hang off the side of the building. But this is totally going to come down to what type of person you are when it comes to displaying your Lego collection. Do you like to display your minifigures in the action, or do you like to just display the builds on their own and put the minifigures elsewhere? Another interesting thing about this tower is just how surprisingly light it is and easy to pick up. I mean, it's a little bit daunting to look at it and you think it might just fall apart in your hands when you pick it up. However, in my experience, you can just kind of lift it up. You can put enough pressure on the sides to lift it, or more ideally, you should take that panel off and take a grip from the interior. At the end of the day, it is a giant building for adults. It's not really something that you should be moving outside of when you first build it, and maybe if you ever want to change the display up. Now, there's still a few more builds included in this set that may push it over the edge for you, as we have a Leviathan, 2 Shatari chariots, and a Quinjet. We'll take a look at the latter first. The Quinjet is very small. If we put it side by side with a $100 Lego Quinjet, you can just see how tiny it is. This is equivalent to like a $15 Lego set if it was released on its own. But even for its size, they do a shockingly good job at keeping it accurate and adding lots of details with stickers, just like the $100 set. Now, the cockpit for this thing is just downright tiny and somewhat a bit of a pain to try and access, but you can place one minifigure within. Right behind there, there's a couple of stud shooters on either side, and nicely included is a little crate where you actually have even more studs to refill your stud shooters. On the bottom side, we have some wheels. It's not quite as good as the retractable landing gear on the bigger Quinjet, but it gets the job done for the size of this thing. And one last thing with this Quinjet, you can actually place it atop the Avengers Tower. There's enough space to fold up the wings and push it into the hangar area on top of the tower. It's pretty dang cool that you can do that. The included Leviathan is more accurate than I really thought they'd ever be able to make this thing. I mean, I don't find it aesthetically pleasing in the movie, and therefore I don't find it aesthetically pleasing in Lego, but it looks like the thing it's supposed to look like, so it's got that going for it. It does have a pretty cool stand so that it actually can fly through the sky a little bit, and it has an absurd amount of posability as it uses ball joints throughout the build. You can just contort this in all sorts of weird ways. And finally, we have a couple little builds for the Shatari to add to the aerial ambiance around the Avengers Tower. One of them does not have an additional build attached to it. The other one does, and you can actually place Loki inside of there to have him being pulled around by the Shatari. I think that is pretty cool to have. And you can simply attach these to some of the pieces jutting out from the build so that you can have them flying around the Avengers Tower. And they definitely look pretty dang nice flying around there. But honestly, the way I am, I would prefer to display this with nothing externally, so I don't really think these builds add a lot of value for me. I think the Quinjet is the most valuable because it doesn't like take away from the look of the Avengers Tower in my eyes. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not I like it, you're just getting more for your money, and I don't see why anyone would be turning down more for their money these days with Lego, and so I think the additional builds are definitely a good thing from that perspective. And now that we've seen the Avengers Tower and everything it has to offer, is this set a 10 out of 10 for you? I mean, it has so many things going for it. It's huge size, it's extra builds, 29 minifigures plus Hulk plus Ant-Man. Like, that's just a silly amount of characters for one set. And I recognize that some of them are reuses, but I think when you have 29 minifigs in a set, you're not going to get 29 unique minifigs. I think there are enough unique, cool, at this point at least, exclusive minifigures for a $500 set that it's pretty amazing what we have here. And so with all that in mind, I feel like this is about as perfect a Lego Avengers Tower set as you can get. I mean, clearly there was a lot of love and passion that went into designing this set and putting in so many Easter eggs for us to discover throughout the building process. I mean, I just love every stud of this set. So I think if you're looking at it and you like it,
You like that?
this is an absolute buy. I think this is absolutely worth the $500 price tag. It's got a ton of cool stuff packed in, and it is one of the best display pieces you can have in your Lego collection. If you do decide to buy one and want to support the channel in doing so, please use the affiliate link in the description below or the shopping tab that you may have seen on this YouTube video. But that is all for this review of the Lego 2023, dare I say, UCS Avengers Tower.